You are logging in, you enter a username and a password, and that password is a factor. With two-factor authentication, the easy way I like to describe it is it's something you know, your password, and something you have. And that something you have can be something like a retina scan or a fingerprint. In this case, it's going to be a code, and it's a changing code. So initially, Google send codes by text message to your phone, but I'll show you how you can change that to get it elsewhere. Now, why do we need this? Well, we've had a couple of incidences in Linaro where people have been sent to go to this site. And as you can see, they're asked for their provider. So we use Gmail. They put their email address in, their password, and their mobile phone number. This has got nothing to do with Linaro. It's got nothing to do with Google. But they are providing, the person is putting in their password. They are giving their account details to somebody else. And what happens then is these people take that information and send out more spam email, more phishing email. So the problem just gets bigger and bigger. So what two-factor authentication does to stop this getting any further is that if I was to put my email address and password in, the bad guys would get that password, but the first time they tried to use that information to get onto Google, I would get a text message with the code on it. And I'd be thinking, well, I'm not logging in, someone must have my password. So they don't get the code, I get a message, I know that something bad is going on.
So how do you know?
How do I know this is a phishing scam?
No, how do you know that it's not someone that's genuine that's logging into your account? Like, how does Google know? You're not going to receive a message every time that you log in.
Okay, that's a good question. I'll pick it up in 10 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set it up. If you want to go along with me, I'll take it slowly. If you don't, that's fine. I will give you links at the end where you can get the documentation. But hopefully by watching me set it up, you'll understand what's going on. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is go to myaccount.google.com. Now, because we're in Bangkok, it starts off in Thai. But it's OK. It's really easy. I'll get you past that. You just click on the blue button in the top right-hand corner. And then it switches to English. Hang on a sec. Now, this is actually a really good website to remember to come to, because this is actually where you control all of the aspects of your Google account. Oops, sorry. Clicking on the wrong thing. The bit we're interested in is top left, sign in, and security. Something you might want to do occasionally is the security checkup. This isn't directly connected to two-factor authentication, but it allows you to review what's happening with your account and who you are sharing your account access with in terms of applications. So I have a recovery phone, and if this is recorded, that means everyone knows my mobile number now, so we'll quickly move on. You can review your security events. So you can see I've been quite busy. I like to test this before I do the session. But clearly, obviously, you look at this and you think, OK, well, if that wasn't me doing it, I'd be quite worried. That's a lot of stuff being changed. But I know it's me, so that's all right. I've also been turning it on and off.
So obviously, if you're not set up, you're not going to have any security events.
Correct. Well, you shouldn't have. You might have an event that says, I changed my password. The one exception, actually, for Linaro staff, the one exception is you might see it saying your password is changing every day. And that is a consequence of how we synchronize from Linaro login up to Google. It's a problem with their synchronization tool.
I don't see anything. So
That's fine. Some people say they see it listing every day.
I see it once a week.
Okay, that's fine. So connected devices. I'm on a tablet. I've got a smartphone with me. I don't know why it says Haslingfield when it's actually Harston, but there's a few other machines that I log in as, so that's fine. I can go, looks good.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Can I unrelated question? How can I delete an authorized device from there? Maybe it's not related, just say so, but...
No. This isn't authorized yet. This is just connected.
Yeah.
So this is just telling me that there's a whole bunch of devices that have been used to log on as me. So, for example, if I was in the UK and I'd never been to Thailand, again, I could be saying, I'm worried someone in Thailand logged on as me. So that's what that's about. So if it says Scotland, for example, or Michigan, and I'm not there and I've never been there, then you want to be thinking about changing your password and tightening up and stuff. And then lastly, on this pit, there's the different applications that you've granted access to for your account. So if any of you use Facebook, or if you remember doing this in Google, sometimes you might go to a website and you're actually logging on with Google, and it says, allow this application to do this in your account. So for example, Discuss is a common way of commenting on blogs. So what happens with Discuss is you log on with your Google account. You don't actually put credentials in because it's an indirect sort of authentication. But the point is it then has basic access to your account, so it knows your name and stuff like that. The point here is not really the detail. It's more about reviewing it and saying, do I remember giving access to that system? If I don't, remove it. You can always put it back again when you suddenly discovered you don't have access anymore. But just something else to think about. Right, so very quick overview of my security checkup. Here's the big thing, signing in. So, password, last changed 8th of February. That's because I was testing it. Two-step verification. Tap on that, and here we go. So, simple explanation. It basically says that when you're signing in, the very first time you sign in, you will get a code. Then, on that device, if it's trusted, you can say it's trusted. You won't get prompted again for 30 days. Mobile devices are slightly different. We'll come to that in a minute. Okay. Google already knows my phone number. That's in my account details. If it didn't know, you can. It says under account security, but you can change the phone number. Get my phone out and ready. Now, as you can see, it will do text message or voice call. Okay, what it's going to do is it's going to give me a 6-digit number. This is all about confirming this is something I have. Okay? So, let's just unlock the phone. So I'm ready. Send code. Okay. Oops. 309-276. So one-off code. It just confirms that I've got the phone. And that's it. So you can see there, trust this computer. So if I go next, if I can tap it without. Okay. So this is just saying that you can get logged out, basically, and the service level agreement doesn't come into play then. A bit of legalese, basically. Now, I'm going to skip this bit for a minute because you can come back to this step, and I want to explain it first. So I'm going to do it later. Okay. I just want to show you the rest of this screen. So let's go through this again. So at the moment, it's got my mobile phone number. It's sending messages by text. You have the option to switch to an app. Now, why might you want to do this? The biggest reason why you might want to switch to an app is if you get charged for incoming text messages. Okay? I don't. I get free incoming text messages even when I'm abroad, so I'm okay. But if you do get charged, switching to an app doesn't require internet access. It just requires initial setup, and I will do that now to show you what's involved. So I'm going to do this on an Android phone. Okay, so as you saw on the previous screen, the instructions are provided for Android, iPhone, and BlackBerry. If you've got Windows Phone, there is a suitable authenticator app for that as well. So what you have to do is install the authenticator app first of all. Then in your app, you...
Any of them, right? They are all compatible.
So to be more precise, it's the ones that support time-based codes. I emphasize that because Launchpad uses a different method, for example. So, so on the app, there is an option that says scan a barcode. And then you hold it in front of the barcode. And I'm not sure if you can see this. It's giving me a 6-digit number on the screen. And then I type that in to confirm that it's set up. Okay. Now, the other big difference between SMS and the Authenticator app. If you get the code via SMS, that's the code. If you get it via the app, it changes frequently. So you have got to time it right to get the time in before the little circle finishes rotating and gives you a new code.
And you can't be on a network that has incorrect time.
Yeah.
Say that again?
If you're on a phone network that does not transmit the correct time to your phone, then you lose. There has been problems.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, your phone has to be showing the correct time. Yes. Yeah. But the benefit of this is you don't have to have network access. Once the phone is synchronized and is on the right time, it doesn't need network access. It's completely isolated if you need. So now it's saying I'm set up for the app. I can change it to a different phone, or I can go back to text message. They do suggest a backup phone number, which at the moment is the one that was getting text messages. Now, really important, you must do this. Even if you are happy that you've got a working text message system or a working app set up, save yourself a lot of grief and print off some backup codes. I'll show you what happens. It's basically a block of 10 codes. And these are one-off codes. So when you go to authenticate, when it asks you for a code, we'll see in a minute, it will ask you to either enter the code that the app's showing or enter the code that you've got by a text, depending on what you've done, or enter a backup code. But if you haven't printed these off, you're locked out. So if you break your phone or whatever and you're locked out, there's not a lot you can do. Okay, so where were we? So now, because I've set up two-factor authentication, it's logged me out, and I need to log back in again. Don't forget this was a trusted computer, which is why it's not asking me for a code. I will show what happens with a different browser because it's all cookie-based, so I'll show what happens. So, if you remember, there was an overlay that came up, and I said we'll come back to that. This is what we're coming back to. Two-factor authentication really principally works with web-based stuff. If you're using an application that is configured for username and password, that doesn't normally understand the second factor, particularly if it's time-based. You're not going to have Microsoft Outlook or Thunderbird keep on prompting you for the code. So what you have to do instead is you generate what's called an app-specific password. Now, the point here is that Google does this for you, so they're fairly complicated. They're not easy to remember because you don't need to remember. All you do doesn't really matter what you put here. It's just to help you remember. Windows Phone. That's the password. So you put that into the application instead of your normal password. So if my normal password was password and Outlook was configured for or password, you'd put that in instead, and then that works. And you can use that in all your apps if you want. It's just that, again, if you really want to do this properly, you're going to generate an app password per app. Because then if one password does get compromised, they haven't got access to everything again. Because these can only be used for specific uses. And you can revoke them as well if you do think they're gone. So, registered computers. I said that you can say 30 days for a computer, so it says this one's registered. And you can check on others. So you can trust as many computers as you like, but you can also manage that trust and remove it if something happens. The last option, which isn't something that I'm going to cover in much detail, if you struggle with the whole phone concept, but you still want the two-factor part of it, you can buy a little USB key. And it gives you more information. I think it did it say where? I think there's information on the documentation link, but they're really cheap. They're like $12 from Amazon, and they're not expensive. And the idea, again, that USB key is something you have. So you plug it in, it gets the code automatically. You take it out when you're away from your computer.
The better ones also work for SSH.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of it's down to the systems that are supporting it. So, for example, Google only support a very limited range. So you do have to make sure you get the ones they work with.
Do you know if the YubiKey Nano works for this? YubiKey Nano?
YubiKey Nano. I honestly don't know off the top of my head. They do explain it in the documentation, though. So let's show you what it looks like when you go to a web page. Go as if you're coming from an account that it hasn't seen before. So, cached password, really bad.
Why?
Because if someone gets hold of my laptop, they can break in.
So you don't have disk encryption? Do you have
I probably do, but it's as a general principle, the point of cached passwords, I think, is not necessarily a good thing because it can lead to people forgetting what the password is because they're not typing it in all the time. I actually had that the other day where someone came up, they said, I don't know.
So I generate a 20 character password,
Yeah.
separate one for every single website I log into.
And you use a password manager?
I use the password manager,
Yeah.
and I have a strong password for my password manager.
And that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. The danger, though, is what happens when your password manager's file gets corrupted or lost or trashed or whatever. It's a great way to manage your accounts. It honestly is. I have a slightly similar approach, but there's a bit of JavaScript that can calculate the password based off the domain of the website and my master password.
That's even better.
Yeah. So,
I haven't found that yet.
supergenpass.com. So this is asking me, so this is an example. You saw the password was cached. It's not going to let me in until I put the code in. And I've got to do it before the circle runs out. And I'm not going to turn that on. If I take too long, the circle's going to run out. Go away. If I left it too long, no. So there we go. A 6-digit number is all I needed to do, and I'm in. So that's safe. And if I had left it back on SMS, you would have heard my phone go ping. So again, if somebody had got hold of my password, I would know. And that's it. It's not hard. It's easy to set up. It's easy to manage. You should all do it. Any questions?
How do you use the backup codes? It's the same.
Good question. Okay, so let me log out. So, this is where we get to the point where it's asking for the code. Click on try another way to sign in. And then it gives you your options. So, as you can see, actually, it can still fall back to sending me a text message because it knows I've done that previously. Or backup code. Note the last option. That's if you really get messed up. But it will, as it says, it may take 3 to 5 days. So backup codes are easy. Did that take? So backup code. Type the first one in off the list. Got the wrong glasses on again.
8720.
Thank you.
6119.
Now again, like the text messages, these are not time specific, but when you use them, they're done.
Yeah. And you should probably
Cross it off. Yeah.
Since we've all seen your backup code.
Oh no, I'm going to reset all this, and the one thing I can't do is change my phone number. I should have got a throwaway SIM for this demo.
The backup codes by themselves are as useful, but yeah, you probably want to reset those.
A brute force attack on my password may or may not work. So yes, but I'm in. And just to prove it, if I log out again and try and use that code again, It won't let me. So, text message, Google app, backup codes. Those are your 3 ways of proving your identity. Or a security key.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
You probably said that earlier. So with the timeouts, when I get signed out of my Linaro account,
Yeah.
Does that automatically get longer if I use two-factor authentication?
No.
No, because it's awfully short. And it's getting really annoying to have two-factor authentication enabled if I have to do it every day for a few places.
Short, how long?
So I think on Jira I get logged out.
Oh, that's a separate issue to Google. Yeah, a lot of that's beyond our control, unfortunately. It's to do with how long the sessions last and the cookies last and stuff like that. A day is about as long as we can make it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot we can do about that.
But also on Hangout, so I know that at least Mark Brown mentioned to me that he gets logged out of Hangout every day. So usually in the middle of a meeting.
That doesn't sound good. No.
But
That shouldn't happen with Google.
If I have two-factor authentication, you said that's 30 days that I can enable it.
That's 30 days of trusting the computer. So basically, I mean, as you saw, it's a cookie-based solution. Because I used a different browser, I still had to put a code in. If I went back to Chrome, it wouldn't ask me. If you use incognito mode, it will ask you every time because it can't save the cookie. So that is the point to remember. It's all cookie-based, so if the cookies get flushed, you will get asked again. But so it's basically saying 30 days, I'm not going to ask you for the code again.
Well, maybe he has a cookie manager.
He may well have, yeah. A lot of this stuff is done around cookies. You mess with the cookies, all sorts of stuff can happen.
I'll tell him about that.
Yeah, okay.
Because I don't think I get logged out every week.
No. Any other questions?
This also works for like GitHub. You don't enable two-factor.
There are increasingly numbers. I mean, a lot of them do it now. Facebook do it, Twitter do it. A lot of them will add this second layer of authentication. Not necessarily all the time, because again, they try to be smart about recognizing the computer you're on, again, through cookies and stuff. So it's normally when they think, I haven't seen this device before. Oh, I mentioned about mobile devices. So again, if you're using, say, Android and you're using the Google apps, it won't prompt you quite so often. It may say, when you turn two-factor on, log in again, but it normally doesn't hassle you too much. It's only if you're using apps that use, say, IMAP and POP, that you then need the app passwords to get you in. So if you find yourself putting your password in and it keeps on saying wrong password, have a think, is it because I've put two-factor on? Am I not being asked for the second factor? Let's try an app password.
So do I need an IMAP client that knows how to use
No, you either need to use a Google app or you need to generate an app password. The one exception is if you're using a mobile device that uses Active Sync to synchronize the mail, so that doesn't need it.
So no, I had the problem before that I can no longer log into my Google account over IMAP unless I turn off more security.
Right. So that's a good point. Hang on. I'll show you where that is. So Google, I mean, love them to bits sometimes. Sometimes they're a real nuisance because they make this decision as to whether or not they think an application is insecure. And where's the setting hiding? I know, I saw it.
I found it before, but then I would have to turn off security for a lot more things than just IMAP.
Yeah, no, it's not that. Basically, they deem IMAP and POP as insecure. So there's an option somewhere, and I'm sorry, I saw it earlier when I was prepping for this, and I can't find it now. There is an option where, by default, they don't allow insecure apps to be used. You have to turn the checkbox on, and they actually say, Outlook and Thunderbird are insecure, you're not going to use them, we're going to deny access until you make the decision to turn it on. Normally what happens is Google will send you an email to tell you they've denied access. And in that email, there's a learn more link, and that tells you where to turn it on. I'm sorry, I can't find it right now.
But that's exactly the same with or without two-factor authentication, or does it help or hurt if I...
No, it's exactly the same whether you've got two-factor on or off, because I know someone got bitten by it and they haven't got it on yet.
Yeah, because as you said, there's an app-specific password that should actually help there, right?
Yes. Yeah, because Google are generating the passwords, and the whole point is about trust. Okay. Thanks for your time. Oh, no, go on, Paul.
I wanted initially I wanted to ask, but I figure I need to enable it as soon as possible and figure it out myself. But I wanted to mention that if you enable it for your Linaro account, the authentication, it doesn't affect any other Google accounts. And actually,
Correct.
it would be helpful to read about that somewhere in ITS docs.
Okay, I'll update that. Yeah, so just to clarify, in case you didn't hear what Paul said, if you have a personal Google account, you can turn it on and off separately. They're independent to each other. And indeed, you need to then think, okay, which account am I being asked to code for, because it'll generate different codes. But yeah, thanks, Paul, they're independent.
You can have a bunch of codes too listed in the authenticator. Like it'll have one for each. It'll be a different code for each account you have established in there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, you just got to make sure you don't type the wrong one in. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, Philip, and also, I'm sorry. The mail you wrote has like the formulation that people who are working with like credential for other people accounts should turn it mandatorily. Can we have like more specific requirements who should turn it on or off? Or maybe people who should turn it on got personal like mails or invitations.
Okay, so to pick up on Paul's question, the company policy is that it is mandatory if you deal with confidential or sensitive information. And what you're saying is it needs to be clearer, because, I mean, what I would say basically is if you're not sure, turn it on. It doesn't hurt. What you've got to ask yourself is,
if I don't like it.
If you don't like it and you get breached and we find out you've got confidential information in your email that someone's then got hold of,
so tell me if I should.
Turn it on, Paul.
I did. I'm on systems team. I know I should.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we can be more
We were trying to be kind to people.
I expect you to tell me that I should turn it on.
Turn it on, Paul.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.